Hello, Revere, and welcome to another great show at the Revere Veterans Community behind me. My name is Morris Morris, and I have a great guest here. His name is Michael Regas. He's the Chief of Staff of Veterans Service Department. Michael, welcome to Revere, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Morris. It's great to be here with you.
Before we start, tell us exactly what your functions are at the State House.
Great. Well, I work at the, as you mentioned, at the Department of Veterans Services, and this is the the Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services, not to be confused with the Federal Veterans Administration. We're often confused with the federal department. The Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services provides benefits to veterans in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In fact, we're the only state in the country that provides benefits paid for by the state to veterans that reside in the state. And this has a long legacy in Massachusetts, going all the way back to the French and Indian War, actually. And these benefits are paid for, they're administered at the town level, that every city and town in Massachusetts is required to have a veteran service agent. Here in Revere, we have a great VSO. Nick Bua is the Veteran Service Officer here in Revere. And what they do is they work with veterans in their community who have financial needs or needs help with their medical care, and they provide benefits to the veterans, which are then submitted to the State Department, our State Department of Veterans Services, and the Commonwealth will then reimburse the town for 75% of the benefits paid out at the town level.
Oh, I have a question for you on this, Michael. Can a veteran go to, like, instead of having to travel to Boston, let's say to Jamaica Plain or North Station to go to the North Station veteran, could he pick his own choosing? Like, let's say I wanted to go to Mass General. Would the state reimburse me instead of me going to the veterans there, or I have to go to the Veterans Administration?
So, yeah, that's a question. That's we often get questions like this. So this goes back to what I just sort of referred to moments ago, which is the health care is generally provided by the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs.
Oh, okay.
The Massachusetts Department of Veterans Services can provide reimbursement for some health care costs and medical costs. And you would have to, your veteran service officer will be able to tell you which ones, but generally speaking, for your health care needs, for veterans who are eligible, they would go through the federal VA system where, as you know, there's several facilities here in Massachusetts.
Okay. Does a veteran have to be in the service a certain amount of time? In other words, let's say a soldier enlists in the Army, a veteran, he's in the Army, but due to some way he's discharged within a week or two. Would he still be required, or is there a minimum number of days that you have to serve? I think it's 180 days.
Yes, in Massachusetts, in order to qualify as a veteran, you would have to have served 180 days of active duty service, or 90 days of active duty service, at least one of which was during wartime.
Oh, so that would make you a veteran.
Yes.
Now, could you explain to some of the people out there about the National Guard, because some of them are considered veterans and some of them are not, and which one are and which one aren't?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question, because most people might not understand this, because
I'm one of them.
We know National Guard folks. They put on the uniform.
Right.
They go to drill 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, and they do this for year after year after year. Yet they may not actually qualify for veteran status under the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, because in order to qualify as a veteran, you have to have served 180 days of active duty. So they would have to have been called up to service in order to qualify as a veteran, either 180 days of duty, or, as I mentioned earlier, 90 days of duty, at least one of which was in wartime. And you know, I know we've seen this with Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, and prior to that, during the Gulf War, we had a lot of folks in the National Guard who were called up to serve in the Gulf or in the Middle East or in operations in support of those conflicts. And many of those folks are actually qualified and do qualify as veterans. But you have to have some component of active duty service to qualify as a veteran.
Mike, and another thing I would like to ask you about, if I may, I used to work in Boston when I was a young man, and I used to work near Court Street, and right along from the Court Street School Building, or the school administration building there was a homeless shelter, if
Yes.
I could use that word,
Yep.
for veterans. I hate to say this, but I got to say it. I used to see veterans, not inside during the winter, but outside, laying there degrading and keeping warm and stuff. Is every veteran entitled to go into a homeless shelter?
Well, so the New England shelter, I think you're referring to the New England Center for Homeless
Right,
Veterans.
right near
Yeah.
Government Center.
Yeah, yeah. One of the big initiatives that we have now is ending veteran homelessness, and part of that is identifying veterans who are homeless and providing them the services that they need so that they can return to a life of self-reliance and independence. And one of the things that we've learned over the years is that homelessness is actually a symptom of larger problems. There are usually
Right.
substance abuse issues. There could be drug problems. There could be post-traumatic stress that impacts the ability of a veteran to keep a job and be able to maintain a residence. And so what has been happening now? The VA, the federal VA, has had an initiative now for several years on ending veteran homelessness, getting to what they call functional zero. And what that effectively means is whenever someone is identified as a veteran and homeless, that within 24 hours they will get some kind of housing, emergency shelter, and then combined with that, they will get the social services they need to be able to help them address the issues that they're facing. Because as you know, a lot of veterans who are homeless, there's a lot of other issues that they're dealing with
Right.
that they need help addressing.
The one I would like to mention, when I asked one veteran, why are you outside in the wintertime? And he said something to me that I couldn't understand. He said they won't let me in, and I asked him why. And then when he opened up his mouth, I understood why they made, because he smelled like a brewery. So
Yeah.
if you're an alcoholic, they will not let you into those units?
They do have, so at many of the shelters, they have a dry policy, so you can't have alcohol or obviously drugs inside.
No, I
of
mean,
the,
I can't come into a shelter, like, let's say I live, this is a shelter, I live here, but I happen to get drunk.
yeah.
I couldn't, they wouldn't let me go back in.
I don't know. You'd have to check with the individual shelters, see what their policies are. Some of them actually have, I know what they call wet beds, which doesn't mean the bed is wet, but it means that the facility, which is a dry facility, and they don't allow
Any alcohol inside
right.
the-
But they do have a certain component now that recognizes, I think, the situation that you've just illustrated, that there are some veterans who are coming in off the street and are
Alcoholics, I hate to use the word, but they are.
Right, and they're in a part of the facility which they can, those issues can be addressed more closely and more carefully, where they're under closer monitoring than maybe the rest of the residents at the
And
shelter.
all they have to do is just to contact their own Veterans Administrator or the Veteran Commissioner, like I like to call them.
Yeah, their Veteran Service Officer in their town hall. Yep.
And they'll get help from there.
Yes.
Okay, before we continue, tell us a little about your education, if I may. And I understand you had an uncle that was in the Marine Corps?
Yes, I had an uncle who served in the Marines.
Is he still alive?
He is.
Well, what's his name?
His name is Peter.
Peter, thank you for your service.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Okay.
I'll send him a copy of this video to let him know.
Good.
So yeah, I grew up here. I grew up in Boston. Went to the Boston Public Schools. Graduated from Boston Latin School, which you just mentioned over by Court Street there. The next street over from Court Street is School Street, which is the original site. There's a plaque on the ground there of the original site of the Boston Latin School, which is the oldest public school in the nation, founded in 1635. From there, I went to Boston University. I got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in economics there, and then went to work in Boston for a couple of different financial services companies over the years. I worked for about a dozen years in banking. And then I decided I wanted to spend more time doing what I loved, which is public service and public policy. So I left my job in banking and I went to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, where I got a master's in public administration. And I was able to use my experience in the private sector and my education from Harvard to transition into a career in public service. So I went to Washington, D.C. This was during the Bush administration, the second one, President George W. Bush, the 43rd president. And I served as an appointee there in the General Services Administration.
Did you ever get a chance to meet Mr. Bush, President Bush?
I did, yes. In fact, in addition to meeting President Bush there, we actually had an opportunity to meet him. I met my wife while I was in Washington as well. She was also an appointee in the Bush administration. And during the waning days, I think it was November of 2008, we had an opportunity to see President Bush, and my wife said, "Mr. President, I want to thank you. Because of you, not only did I not have an opportunity to serve for 7 years in your administration," this is my wife, she served for 7 years, she said,
"Wow.
But I also found a husband," and I was staying right next to her. And so we have a great photo of him with the two of us in a big sort of, he's got his two arms around us,
nice.
grinning ear to ear. So he was very pleased.
You must have been nervous when he come over, huh?
Yeah, it was, it's, even though you're in pretty close proximity to him in Washington, he's still, the President of the United States, so it's quite a thing to meet him in person.
The reason I say that, I remember when I was a young kid, we had a General Lucius D. Clay who was in charge of the American military in Berlin for the American troops, and sometimes he would have a habit to touch your head after you saluted him. You had to salute him, otherwise, the protocol. He would tap your head and he says, "Good job, son, good job, son." And you feel like God was talking to you one day. You get that big, especially when you're a kid.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, you and I went over some questions, and I would like to start up. Oh, before we start, if I may, there was something that came up that I heard on the radio, but I wasn't sure whether I could expand on it because I don't know if I heard it clear.
Sure.
That Governor Baker has made some new ideas for the veterans?
Yes. So just this week, Governor Baker announced a new program or a new opportunity for veteran-owned businesses to do business with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So he expanded the diversity procurement guidelines for state government so that now veteran-owned businesses, he's expanded the categories so that now 3% of all contracting that the state Commonwealth of Massachusetts does has to go to businesses that are
3%?
owned by veterans. Yes.
Right. Now, does that mean that if I'm the lowest bidder, but I'm not a veteran, and you're a little higher than me, and you are a veteran, that means that I would not get the bid unless it's in the low 3% category? Or?
Well, no. I mean, what it means is that the Commonwealth now has to make an effort to identify veteran-owned businesses.
Like minorities?
Right. So minority-owned businesses is one category. Women-owned businesses are another category.
Oh, I see.
Veteran-owned businesses are another category.
But the veterans would have first preference, I assume.
Well, they all have. So there are different contracting goals for each of the categories. So
that's good. That's fair enough.
So the pie is big enough for everyone. There's 100% of contracting, so 3% goes to veterans. But it doesn't mean that you still have to, provide a great product or service at a great price to the Commonwealth. I don't think you get a break or sort of a license to charge more than your competitor.
Right.
Because the Commonwealth, Governor Baker said he wants a government that's as thrifty as the people of Massachusetts.
Then it would probably go to lowest bidder, but if there was a tie, the veteran would get it.
All other things being equal, you would think that's probably how it would work, yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good. Because I'd love to see veterans, not only, by the way, I'd like to see a lot of the businesses that you were talking about that would be getting this, you could put down more stipulations. I don't mean, restrictions, that they should hire a veteran, those ones that are getting the veteran's preference. That would be a good idea, too.
Yeah. Well, we have a great program, actually, at the department called Boots to Business, where we work to pair up veteran mentors with, or non-veteran mentors with veteran mentees who are looking for work. And, the mentors will coach and help mentees find opportunities. And there are a lot of companies in Massachusetts that have veteran hiring programs that are looking to hire veterans, and so we're always trying to, help let veterans who are in need know about these programs.
Right, I was going to say to you, is there a chance that the Veterans Office, for example, like Chelsea, Winthrop, Saugus, with their own veteran affairs, that if they're looking for people, the town is looking for people, and they want to hire a vet, and they call the one in Winthrop, and he doesn't have one, does he contact maybe Revere the head of the Veterans of Revere or Chelsea, and says, do you have an opening, or someone looking for Michael Regas, who's an engineer? Did they work, in conjunction?
They know who each other is. Now, to what extent they all work together is, I guess, up to each individual veteran service officer.
Oh.
But all of the veteran service officers that are in each of the cities and towns in the Commonwealth,
yep.
Most of them are part of the Veteran Service Officer, the Massachusetts Veteran Service Officer Association. So they all get together once a year, or actually twice a year, for a conference. One of them is a conference that our agency hosts to conduct training of veteran service officers, so they are up to date on all of the programs that the Commonwealth provides to veterans and how to help administer them to veterans.
So in other words, if I was a veteran officer, let's say in New York, I could look at my computer and see what they're looking for, maybe in Massachusetts or something else, if there was people living, veterans that needed jobs that were qualified, and we couldn't find them where I am, we could get them down here?
You mean in terms of a, I don't know that there's a centralized database.
That's what I meant. I couldn't think of the word, thank you.
Yeah.
A centralized.
One does not exist that I'm aware of at this moment of veterans that are looking for work, but there are, on the supply side, of employers that are looking for opportunities and are out there actively seeking veterans. Those are out there, but yeah, one of the things that we obviously try to do is help connect veterans with those
That's good.
opportunities.
And especially now where we're getting close to the holiday season and the people are looking for extra help, they should hire a vet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would be a good bet.
Yes.
Okay, hire a vet, it's a good bet. I don't know why, it just comes out. I don't know why.
That's good. You've got a talent, Morris.
I wish I knew where it was, though. By the way, I would like to thank you, Governor Charlie Baker. I think he's doing an excellent job.
Well,
and he's only been in, what, about 6 months, 7? No.
Since January,
10 months.
11, yeah, almost 11 months
Excellent. And the Lieutenant Governor, Karen Polito, she was on this show. Thank you for coming on the Revere Veterans and Community Show. I wish the governor would come on Sunday. We'd love to have him.
I know he'd love to. He's right up the street in Swampscott, so.
He is?
Oh, that's where he lives, yeah, not too far from here.
Well, I can't, I'm only a volunteer, so I can't do much, but whereas you're up with the VA, maybe you can talk to him for me. Okay, I'd like to ask you these questions here, and I see there are quite a few. Massachusetts has a special place in our nation's military history and a proud tradition of providing some of the finest services to our veterans and their families. Why is this so? Could you tell us a lot of the things that Massachusetts does that some of the other states out of the 40, 50 do not do?
Sure. Well, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're one in a kind in terms of providing benefits at the state level to veterans in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We actually predate the VA, the Veterans Administration, by 100 years.
Wow.
The Commonwealth's Department of Veteran Services. I'll tell you two of the main benefits that we provide. One is annuities to Gold Star spouses, wives, husbands, and parents, as well as, and those are, for Gold Star parents are parents who have lost a.
I had a couple of Gold Star mothers on here a year ago. And it's very sad.
Yeah. And we've lost, a service member in active duty, and or as a result of their service, and Gold Star spouses are someone who's lost a husband or wife.
When you say Gold Star mothers, that's suppose the mother and father are not married anymore, but it's the father. Is he considered also a Gold Star?
Yes, yeah, even if the parents have since divorced,
right.
they're both still considered Gold Star parents. Yes,
that's good. So in case people didn't know that, they know it now.
Yes, and the annuity, we also provide an annuity for service members who are rated 100% service-connected disability. And the annuity is for the Gold Star parents and spouses, and for the 100% service-connected disability is a $2,000 per annum. So it's $1,000 every 6 months, where a check goes out from the Commonwealth to these.
And that's one of the few states that does that?
The only state.
Out of the 50?
Out of the 50.
Maybe the other states should learn from us.
They should. Yeah, maybe they should. The VA also provides a benefit to veterans who have 100% service-connected disability. This is something that the Commonwealth does to, it's something we can do to honor and acknowledge the service.
That's
of
fantastic, really.
Given.
That's wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, the other benefit is a means-tested benefit. It's under, often referred to as our Chapter 115 benefits. It's named after the chapter in the Massachusetts General Laws that discusses how the benefits are administered. And these are means-tested benefits for veterans who find themselves living, up to 200% of the poverty level, and they get assistance from their local and city or town veteran service officer with, they get economic assistance with housing, health care, et cetera. And those expenses are what I discussed earlier in the program. They are submitted to the state, and we reimburse the cities and towns at 75%.
Right, I remember you mentioning that. That's
Good memory.
very good.
Thank you.
No, but I mean, if we're the only state that does that, the other 49 should come right in with us. Okay, that'd be nice.
I agree. We can't do enough for our veterans.
That I agree with you. It's ironic. Only 1% of our population are really veterans when you think of it.
Right. Yeah. So that so that number is has declined. I mean, from in previous generations, our current veteran population is around 12 or 13% of the population are veterans. And but that goes back to the time when we had a draft. You had, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Right. Now with an all-volunteer service, there's a much smaller percentage of the general population that serves in our armed forces. And so going forward in the future, you can have a much smaller number of veterans than we do now, and fewer people will know who veterans are, or will have a very close connection to veterans. We all have friends and family and people that we know who are veterans because there's so many of them. If you look forward down, 20, 30, 40 years from now, it's going to be fewer and fewer people are going to have such a direct contact with veterans, which actually leads me to a good segue here, because one of the things my boss, Secretary Urena, is doing is he, at our recent training with veteran service officers, he gave out a book to all of the veteran service officers to bring to their towns. It's a book for elementary school students called Veterans Heroes in Our Neighborhood, and it's designed for like first or second grade school students, and it talks about who veterans are. That they're people in your community. They're the barber, the butcher, the plumber. That's
a good idea. That was Francisco's.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent idea, Francisco. That's why he's up where he is. It was a good idea. We got about 4.5 minutes later. We talked about the homelessness. I want to get one more question.
Sure, absolutely.
Can I do that?
Absolutely.
You mentioned every single town and city in the Commonwealth has a veteran service officer. What is the role exactly of the VSO, which is the veteran service officer?
Yeah.
Exactly what is this role?
So they are city and town employees. They actually work for the mayor or for the town manager. Right. They're not state employees.
Okay.
And their job is to do outreach in the community, to be the sort of the local face of government that is working with the veterans in their own cities and towns to help those in need get the assistance that they need from their town and from the Commonwealth. It's you've heard so much over the last few months and years about some of the problems that we've had at the federal level with the federal VA, and I think you sort of see the exact opposite here in Massachusetts, where you have this very almost Norman Rockwell-like system where the city and town that sent you off to service are the same folks who are taking care of you when you come back home. They're the people that you know. You go up to, you don't have to knock on the door of some unknown bureaucracy somewhere or call an 800 number. You just walk up to your city or town hall and you meet the veteran service agent face to face that you know because he lives in your town.
Right, and I would like to mention something about our veteran service agent, Nick Boer. He
Yep.
did 2 things within a week,
Yeah.
out of this world. Number one, he made sure that the Purple Heart veterans, they had a special function for honoring the Purple Heart
Yeah.
veterans who were wounded in wars, whether Korea, Vietnam. And then right after that, he had a function to honor all the veterans in the city of Revere, which a lot of cities do not do that,
Yeah.
but he did that, and that was nice of him.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Nick is a great veteran
Make
service
sure
officer.
it gets back to the Boston
Yes.
office. I don't want to do that. Okay. We have about 2.5 minutes. Take a minute and a half and talk about whatever you wish to wrap it up. Only me 1 minute.
All right, great. Well, as we mentioned, we just announced, the governor just announced this new contracting
Right.
initiative. So how we can help veterans going forward is, the business of America is business, as someone once said, and one of the ways we can help economic revitalization is to help veterans who have come back from serving abroad who want to start a business, to help them find opportunities to grow their business by providing their products and services to state government. We also have our annual Veterans Day event at the State House, which we're going to honor all the veterans of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The governor will be there, Secretary Urena will be there, and a lot of many dignitaries
When is this
as
gonna
well.
happen?
On Veterans Day.
Oh, this coming one?
Yes, on November 11th, Veterans Day.
Right. That's
So,
excellent.
and that is sort of the, but November is Veterans Month, so the Secretary and I are actually quite busy going around the Commonwealth and visiting with veterans. We have a soldiers' home right next door here in Chelsea.
Right. I wish they reopened the outpatient department.
I'll let them know. I'll
Okay.
look into that.
Okay. I want to say thank you for taking your time to come down here and
Thank you
talk
very
to
much,
us.
Morris.
God bless you and take care of you. Give my regards to the people up at the Veterans to Francisco. Governor Charlie Baker, we love to have him. I would like to thank the people of Revere for listening and tuning in, but most of all, I want to thank all of the veterans out there. God bless them. God take care of you, and God bless our great country, the United States of America. And thank you all for listening. Until we have another great show with another great gentleman like Michael Regas.
Thank you very much, Morris.
It was an honor to have you here, Mike.
The privilege was all mine.